Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Masters Podcast, helping the general public to master an understanding of crypto assets. My name is Brian McCoy.
My name is Ross Eaton.
And we are the Crypto Masters. The topic of today's episode is Loopring, a project that attempts to provide the best of decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges using zkRollups to allow scalability. High-tech stuff on today's episode, Ross.
Ooh, I like it, Brian. Hook is in.
Yes, and a quick reminder. Our goal here at the Crypto Masters Podcast is to provide information about crypto assets to help the public decide if it's something they may want to invest in. We encourage you to do further research on your own, and we generally look at projects to determine if they would be good for a long-term investment.
Absolutely, Brian. You know, we want to provide a good amount of information about different crypto assets to allow you, the listeners, to make your own investment decisions. But of course, we are not financial advisors,
Nope.
so this is not financial advice.
Right.
But, you know, we want to empower you to, give you the knowledge you need to, kind of start your research or the beginning of your research. And really, we're kind of more focused on long-term investment. But yeah, Loopring is a very exciting project. It's a zkRollup exchange and an Ethereum Layer 2 scaling protocol, and it uses zero-knowledge proofs. And of course, that's a lot of buzzwords, so we will get into that in just a moment.
Good deal.
Sit
All right.
tight.
Let's start at the beginning, Ross. So Loopring had an ICO back in August of 2017. It was started by Daniel Wang, who previously worked at Google as a software engineer. He also worked at Boston Scientific and at the Chinese e-commerce company JD.com, which is a big one.
Okay.
He also started the cryptocurrency services firm CoinPort Technology. And so he's the main guy. I mean, when you think of Loopring, it's Daniel Wang.
For sure.
Yeah, and the team operates out of Shanghai, China. And so it's been around since 2017, but has really evolved over the years. And so now the Loopring project, it's at loopring.org. It's very multifaceted and includes, different aspects. One is an open source DEX, decentralized exchange protocol, that allows others to create a Layer 2 DEX using the zkRollups. Very interesting, but not really something we'll focus on in this review today because I don't know how many of our listeners want to start their own DEX. It also has a payment protocol that allows for payments using the zkRollups technology, and it's super fast and very cheap payments. And again, that's not really our focus today, but it's very good to know they have that as well. So
Absolutely.
what it also has is a decentralized Layer 2 exchange that is super secure, Ethereum level security, with a really interesting option for trading. And I'll go into this more in a few minutes. So the main idea behind Loopring is to combine elements of centralized and decentralized crypto exchanges to create a protocol that will enjoy the advantages of each type of exchange. The best of both worlds, as Van Halen might say or sing. Yes.
Very nice. I like it.
There you go. And so the central feature of it is the use of zkRollups as a Layer 2 solution. So Ross, if you can, give us a general overview of zkRollups and how they're used by Loopring.
Okay, so Brian, this is a pretty complicated concept, to be honest. We could have a whole 2-hour-long podcast on the many ways you can do Layer 2 scaling solutions and just how rollups work. But I'll link a lot of good sources in the description here just for your further learning. But to start off, when you think of Layer 2 scaling, the general idea is that you process and verify transactions off-chain and then bundle them on-chain into a single transaction. Now, how Loopring does this specifically is called a zkRollup or a zero-knowledge rollup. So zkRollups bundle hundreds of transactions together off-chain into a cryptographic proof, also called a SNARK, which stands for a succinct non-interactive argument of knowledge. The SNARK is also known as a validity proof and is posted onto the Layer 1 chain. So you with me, Brian?
I am, yes.
All right, that's it. Done.
Pretty much.
So, Brian, when I was first researching this, this is the part where I kind of glazed over. But never fear, the Crypto Masters are here.
Yes, no glazing.
Yes.
Try not to glaze very much.
But really, what all this means is that the ZK rollup only needs to provide the validity proof instead of all the transactions that have been bundled and rolled up together. And just a quick note, when I keep referring to this bundle, this is a data structure called a Merkle tree. I don't want to get into that right now, but I'll link a good article on Merkle trees and that data structure in the description. But for ZK rollups, transactions are much, much faster and greatly cheaper. The zk rollup gets away with this because it's already done all the validation for all the transactions bundled. For example, like making sure when I send Brian 5 ETH, I actually have that in my wallet. So just to clarify this, please, Loopring, for example, will validate and keep track of my wallet's balance by communicating with the layer 1 chain to verify that I actually have that 5 ETH. So ZK rollups aren't perfect. The main drawback to ZK rollups is that they are computationally difficult to compute. So it really doesn't make sense to use a ZK rollup for, a few transactions. But for a platform like Loopring, I do think it's perfect because Loopring handles many, many transactions a day, with the DEX and the AMM. So I think this is perfect. And I've got people like Vitalik back me up on this. So, in summary, to bring this full circle, Loopring utilizes ZK rollups to process and validate transactions off-chain, and then bundle them up and load them onto the main chain, to that layer 1 blockchain.
All right, Ross.
There you go.
Good, thank you. So I want to talk about one of the biggest innovations of Loopring, and that's the choice that it gives to users of the exchange. And so as we all know, there are really two main types of exchanges. One is, and I want to keep this podcast clean, but I have to say it, there are sexes.
Whoa.
Boom. Centralized exchanges. That's CEX, you dirty-minded people. Sorry the younger listeners had to hear the sex talk. But anyway, so there are centralized exchanges, wow, and we're all familiar with those. Examples are Binance, Coinbase Pro, Kraken, many, many others. There's also centralized exchanges for stonks like Schwab, E-Trade, and TD Ameritrade.
Boo.
So they all have the familiar order book that shows the bids for buyers and the asks for sellers. And, as you're trading, you can see where it stands, on the price, who's asking and then who's bidding. And then they also, so these centralized exchanges also have all kinds of features that we're familiar with, like market orders, also though limit orders, stop loss orders, and things like that. Okay, so the first is the sexes. The second is the decentralized exchanges, or the DEXs, Uniswap, SushiSwap, Bancor, and they all have the simple swap feature where you can swap one asset for the other, but you get the current price according to that DEX's oracle. Or maybe the transaction is canceled because of slippage. But this is an AMM, automated market maker, that we've talked about in previous episodes. But there's no real option for limit orders, stop loss orders. It's basically, I want to swap, ETH for DAI, and I get the price that the oracle says it is at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's pretty basic. So each type, the sexes and the DEXs, have their pluses and minuses. But I say many people like the information that an order book provides, like the centralized exchanges have. You can literally see the supply and demand and the prices being sought by the buyers and sellers. So, but this really wasn't doable for layer 1 Ethereum DEX like Uniswap, because the gas fees would just make it impossible. Yeah. I mean, each of those sort of transactions would involve gas fees, and it literally was not possible from a practical standpoint.
Yeah, I love those gas fees on Uniswap. We've been burned on there.
So and this is the amazing feature of the Loopring exchange. You can go to loopring.com, loopring.org, website, and you can choose the type of exchange that you want to use. You can go to the website, you click on exchange, and it takes you to the swap exchange. And that looks like Uniswap or Bancor that we've seen and talked about before. You just choose your tokens and swap. And so like those dexes, you can also add liquidity to a pool by clicking on pool. So it's kind of like, the basic dex features. But get this, you can also click on trade and you see an order book, just like on the centralized exchanges, but it's non-custodial. So this is really unique and really awesome.
Yeah, I've been on there. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Brian. I love how user friendly
It gives you choice.
It's
it
awesome.
gives you choice. Which do you want? So personally, when I'm trading my or not, trading, really buying for the most part, my crypto assets, I almost always prefer an order book because I can see it in action. If I can't find it on we're in the U.S., so we don't have all the options. So if I can't find it on a centralized exchange, I'll go to the DEX. I'll use Uniswap or Bancor, and you just kind of do it, and you're sort of doing a market trade. Given the choice, I always use a limit order. Limit order, you get lower fees, and you just know no surprises with the limit order.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this feature on Loopring is absolutely fantastic for anyone who prefers the SEX order book trade, the centralized, order book trade to the DEX swap. The Loopring order book has the same user interface, or the UX that you would get on Kraken or Coinbase Pro, like most of us have all seen,
Mm-hmm.
that has the, the ask and the bids. The team at Loopring believes this makes Loopring suitable for professional traders and institutions who might want to employ trading bots or algorithmic trading methods. And you just can't do that on the other the other DEXs.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is the centralized exchanges should be sweating.
Yeah.
They should be worried about this. So remember though, in addition to this fantastic option to choose your trade type, you're also getting the benefits of layer 2 on Ethereum, which means super fast, super cheap, and super secure. So a big part of the zkRollups is that you can withdraw at any time. Your funds can never be stolen, frozen, or seized by Loopring. It's always there for you to get. So almost all of the operations like order matching and trade settlement are performed off of the Ethereum blockchain. So you get the benefits of all the speed and low fees, but you get the security of the Ethereum blockchain, which is very secure. And also, just as a side note, Vitalik Buterin has written and spoken about the benefits of zkRollups, and it really prefers to be his preferred method of layer 2 scalability.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's a good segue, Brian, because there's a lot of layer 2 scaling solutions. So I wanted to briefly compare a zkRollup to a Plasma layer 2 scaling solution that Polygon/Matic uses. And I say Polygon/Matic because when we did our episode, it was still called Matic at the time. But yeah, Polygon, again, I'm not going to go in crazy detail here, but Polygon uses a scaling solution called Plasma, which is, again, a way to process and validate transactions off-chain and then load them to the layer 1 chain. Plasma uses smart contracts and side chains, also called plasma chains, to report back to the main chain to settle any disputes in any of these transactions. Again, this one is pretty involved, so I will provide good links. But the reason I bring this up is the Plasma scaling solution is that it has a major drawback, and which is the inability for a user to withdraw funds quickly. And obviously that's a major drawback if you want to run your own DEX. So you can see why Loopring kind of went off on their own here to create their own DEX using a zkRollup solution for this instead of building on something like Polygon.
Again,
They're not competitors, Obviously, Polygon's doing something, completely different. Where Loopring is very focused on their goal here of creating, a deck, mainly a DEX. But just wanted to kind of briefly mention that because I know Polygon's,
Well, I think that's
big
important.
Name right now.
And that is important because as investors, you want to know. You usually want to invest in the best technology, and based on my research, it seems that the zkRollups are have advantages over the Plasma. So
Yeah,
anyway.
and another proof of that is Polygon is looking to add zkRollups into their scaling solution. So that should tell you right there.
And that's what competition does. Makes everybody try to be better.
Yeah,
Love it.
competition is great.
All right, so let's talk about the Loopring token, which is called LRC. There are about 1.23 billion LRC in circulation out of a total supply of about 1.37 billion. So about 89% are in circulation as of the date of this podcast. So not a lot of inflation remaining. That's pretty
great.
good.
Yeah.
And a portion are burned in certain transactions, so it can be deflationary to that extent. Its ICO in 2017, which I mentioned earlier, was very broad, but without a lot of concentration, so which is positive. So not a lot of the favoring the insiders. So right now, over 10% is currently staked. So in general, the tokenomics look good to me. And like most of them, the LRC token can be used to be a market maker or a liquidity provider on the exchange. It also can be staked to reduce fees on the exchange. It's used for fees and to reward relayers and other contributors to the protocol. And it's not there yet, but it will be used for governance voting as well. So, use of the LRC token is pretty typical, but that provides demand for the token. So in general, tokenomics are pretty good.
Yeah, hearing those tokenomics, Brian, to me, at least in my head, I'm just hearing ding, ding, ding. That's a lot of great signs. Let's get into where you can buy LRC. It's on a lot of centralized exchanges, including Coinbase, Binance, OKEx, and many others. And why I'm smiling right now is, of course, you can purchase LRC right on the Loopring exchange on loopring.org. And it's on Uniswap, of course, too. But yeah, it's easy to purchase. But, when you're dealing with tokens that, for platforms that have their own exchange, you can obviously go on there and get it there.
But it's not one that you have to search hard for and sign up for some remote exchange. It's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, you're going to get your hands on this one for sure.
Okay. All right, Ross, time for final thoughts. Am I up this week? I think I'm up this week.
I think it's you. Kick
it
off.
Let me kick it off. So I'm going to start out by saying I like Loopring. I don't purport to fully understand the tech, and the math behind zkRollups, and to some extent Merkle trees, although I've come across Merkle trees before when I've sort of studied the basics of cryptography, behind crypto. But, I kind of know that what they do for scalability and for reduction of costs, and that's huge when we get to the massive adoption that we all think is coming. So that's very important and very positive. The zkRollups appear to be, and according to Vitalik himself, is really the best tech out there for this. So the CEXs, the centralized exchanges, have always had a couple of advantages over the DEXs that have led to people giving up custody of their assets, and trusting the centralized exchange. Why would you do that? Well, there's some advantages. Cost, when you get high gas fees like we've seen on Uniswap, it just becomes too much. It's too much to do it.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Right. So the speed of a centralized exchange is very good. The Orderbook features, they're all a big part of that. But you know what? No more. Because of Loopring, those advantages are gone. And then you have the security of Loopring, which is Ethereum level security, and that your funds can never be frozen. You can always withdraw them from the layer 2 to your Ethereum layer 1 wallet. And this is huge. Yeah. So I think people are going to be asking themselves at some point in the future, maybe not too far off when this gets established, they're going to be saying, why in the world would I use a centralized exchange? Why would I give my custody over to these guys and trust them,
Yeah.
So, DEXs still need to improve their onboarding for the fiat. But once that's done, the centralized exchanges should really be worried. So as for Loopring and the LRC token, I'm not totally sure how to value it. Before I looked into Loopring, I thought, this is a competitor to Polygon and Matic that uses a different means of layer 2 scaling, the zkRollups instead of Plasma, but which is true that they use the different methods, but their models are totally different. Loopring doesn't seem to me to be a competitor to Polygon. It's not offering the solution to Ethereum dApps to lower their gas fees. It's really focused on its own exchange. You know, and exchanges produce revenue, so that's good. As a negative, I got to say one negative here. It looks like currently there aren't that many trading pairs on the exchange, you know, with liquidity. There's a lot of trading pairs, but when you look at the liquidity behind them, there aren't that many. So it's added numerous trading pairs, but they still have a ways to go to get liquidity on all those trading pairs. But Loopring's working on this. So the tokenomics are good. When the volume and liquidity depth increase, it should generate more revenues for the LRC token. So yes, I'm buying. I've bought some LRC token, and
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm going to buy some more. I'm hoping for success of the Loopring project. And you know, to conclude here, as I said before, technological innovation like this is what makes crypto great, and it makes it inevitable.
Wow, that hit me right in the feels, Brian. I like that statement right there.
Touching.
Oh, that was nice. Okay, well put. Crypto being inevitable. Oh, that's my next tattoo. I'm piggybacking off you in stereotypical fashion, Brian. But yeah, this project is really good. I love the tokenomics that you mentioned. And again, getting into crypto and loving the decentralized nature. I've said this before. It just feels counterintuitive when you go on a centralized exchange to buy and purchase decentralized assets. You know, so I love DEXs. I love Loopring, and I'm going to make this statement here. I feel like Loopring is kind of a gem in the regard that, you know, you have a lot of DEXs or, you know, just crypto projects in general that really pump up their marketing. And Loopring seems to be the project that's, you know, obviously they're in the top 200, so they've done some marketing to get their name out there, but they really don't put much money or resources into that as they could have.
Yeah.
And I think that's why if they eventually end up really going on a marketing campaign and pumping their project out even more, I mean, you could see this thing explode. I think this is a crypto gem that's outside the 100 in market cap as of this episode that you need to keep your eye on.
I mean, they have the game changer. I mean, it's the game changer that you have an order book on a DEX.
Yeah.
And you know, once they get the liquidity and they get all those trading pairs going, it's almost going to be a no-brainer. Do I want the option? Because it gives you the option. You can still do the swap that you can get on, you know, Uniswap or SushiSwap or Bancor, but you then also have the option to do the limit orders and the things that you can do. It's
very powerful, powerful stuff. So
Agreed.
You know, I'm going to be buying some LRC tokens. I'm going to be using the Loopring exchange more. I think this is a great project. So you know, keep your eyes on it. And hey, again, I've said this too many times, but another point for Ethereum. This is built on top of it, so it's another great point for them. So that's
good point.
Stamp on that final thought. There you go.
I appreciate it. All right, guys. So that's another episode of the Crypto Masters. We hope you'll tune in next time.
Yeah, check us out. Like, follow, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. And hey, let us know if there's another crypto asset you'd like us to cover next.
Thanks, everybody.